In The Last of Us Part 2, you are Ellie, the tenacious young girl we know and love from Part 1. You are also Abby, a muscle-bound, abnormally strong girl that we learn is seeking out Joel. For those who didn't know, it is revealed that Ellie is gay, and a kissing incident last night at a local dance has set the town abuzz. The kiss occurred between Ellie and Dina, Ellie's secret crush, who, until recently, had been dating a mutual male friend, Jesse. The kiss prompts the local town bigot to harass the girls, leading to an altercation with Joel. Ellie's relationship with Joel is on the rocks, and she lashes out at his overprotectiveness. All of this leads to an awkward morning after, where Ellie must navigate Jesse, Dina, and others while preparing to go on patrol.
She kissed me.
I was talking about your fight with Seth. Wait, you kissed Dina?
Ellie gets paired with Dina, providing the perfect opportunity to sort out their true feelings. Meanwhile, Abby and a group of friends from a Seattle-based enclave have tracked Joel down seeking vengeance. You control Abby, who has her own interpersonal issues to sort out, as she tries to puzzle how her small troop is going to extract Joel from the large, well-fortified Jackson settlement.
Mel's pregnant.
Oh. Okay.
It's not just that, though.
Should I say congrats?
Serendipitously, Abby runs into Joel and Tommy while fleeing from a group of infected humans and convinces them to seek shelter at her group's nearby encampment. The Seattle crew takes full advantage of their unbelievable fortune, swiftly incapacitating the two brothers. Meanwhile, Jesse is looking for Dina and Ellie to inform them that Joel and Tommy missed the rendezvous. They split up to search, and Ellie finds Abby's hideout just in time to watch a brutalized Joel suffer a final blow by Abby's hand. In a surprising twist, Abby's close accomplice Owen convinces the Seattle squad to spare Tommy and Ellie as they aren't the target of the vengeance-fueled quest. Flash forward to the following days, and it is revealed that the town leader Maria won't spare members to seek out Joel's killers. Ellie is determined to go with or without help, and her new girlfriend Dina is committed to stay by her side. Tommy, meanwhile, has absconded from the camp to set out after his brother's murderers solo, prompting Maria to let Dina and Ellie leave the camp freely in hopes of aiding her husband.
Just, do me a favor and bring my dumbass husband home in one piece, please.
Thus, the driving action for the story has been established. While I'll try to avoid revealing any major remaining plot points, there are a few problems I see with the preceding actions. Before I get into those, let me start by addressing the elephant in the room. The beloved protagonist played for a vast majority of the previous game has been murdered and won't be played for the remainder of this game. This is a bold choice. I'm not saying it's a bad choice, but Naughty Dog had to know that a segment of their fanbase would be furious about the ruthless death of the character they bonded with and probably expected to play as when they purchased the game. I actually didn't mind this, as I'd personally rather be surprised, even at the expense of losing a key character, but it did end up negatively affecting the game. The reason for this is that Dina and Ellie aren't Joel and Ellie. In The Last of Us, we're shown Sarah, a sweet and loving young girl, tragically killed in the chaos of Outbreak Day. We see how it turns Joel into a cold, dry husk of his former self. We also learn about Ellie, a young girl who is scared, alone, and abandoned by everyone she meets. They are exactly what the other needs most in the world, and they slowly realize that as the story unfolds. Dina is a love interest. We don't know whether it's true love or a passing phase. In fact, we don't know anything about Dina prior to the game's first scenes, where her and Ellie's relationship unfolds. So while their dialogue is cute and clever...
Okay, I have a very serious question for you. How bad do I smell?
the connection lacks the backstory and uniqueness that adds the depth to Joel and Ellie's relationship from the first game. This point is reinforced during Ellie and Joel's first flashback scene. I instantly missed the well-crafted, carefully built chemistry and wondered, why was this just a cutscene versus the actual game I was playing?
do okay?
Are you fucking kidding me?
The other critical error is that the driving action for The Last of Us Part 2 story doesn't make any sense. Consider the first game, where Joel is transporting Ellie across the country to rendezvous with fireflies that can leverage her immunity to create a vaccine. The objective is simple: travel to a location while staying alive. The reward for successfully completing the mission is world-altering, and therefore easily warrants the risk. In Part 2, the objective is suicidal, and there is no reward for completing the mission. The group that killed Joel had 8 members, and one would assume there are many more at their home base. We later learn from Abby that there are in fact thousands of wolves, the moniker taken by members of the Washington Liberation Front. Also worth remembering is that the world is dangerous, and that traveling from Jackson, Wyoming to Seattle carries a significant risk of being killed by infected or hostile survivors along the way. Now let's talk about the justification for the mission. Assuming the mission is somehow a success, what is the benefit? Killing the people responsible for Joel's death won't bring Joel back to life. If anything, it will create further strife between Jackson and Seattle, resulting in more war and more death. Add to this the fact that Joel was known to have a sordid past as a smuggler, where he crossed and killed any number of people, and it's not even clear that avenging his death would mean justice had been served. Hell, even Joel didn't seem to hold Abby's actions against her at the end.
Why don't you say whatever speech you got rehearsed? Get this over with.
Lastly, the members responsible for killing Joel spared both Tommy and Ellie because they had no quarrel with them. The mercy they showed was, if anything, morally superior to most humans shown in the post-apocalyptic world.
So they just get to get away with this?
Yes, Ellie, they do. For what it's worth, the game does seem to understand the absurdity of Ellie's actions by having supplemental characters occasionally question her, forcing retorts with flimsy logic.
You have no idea what you're walking into. You don't know how large that group is, how armed.
I don't care.
You ever worried they're gonna come back to Jackson after us?
What do you mean?
I mean, we're going through a lot of their people. In their city.
Because of what they did.
Didn't Abby and her friends come to Jackson because of something Joel did?
The problem here is that Ellie's single-minded quest for revenge, even at the cost of others' well-being, make her extremely unlikable. The sweet and spunky girl from the first game is long gone, and discerning players may even root against her by the end. Despite the shaky start, the story improves. Contrary to some, I actually enjoyed Abby's section, as she had a compelling backstory, interesting relationships with friends like Manny and Owen, and her actions and motivations made sense, at least at the start. The only downside to her section was the game frequently reminding you that she is inordinately strong. The original Last of Us championed women by showing Tessa's grit, Ellie's tenacity, and Maria's level-headed leadership. The Last of Us Part 2 seems to want to take that one step further and declare that there are no differences between women and men at all.
Ladies first.
He said ladies first.
The story itself gets more complex and interweaves Ellie's and Abby's actions into some very poignant moments. Some people were critical of the overarching morbidity, going so far as to label it misery porn. My take is that what matters most is not whether the outcomes are happy or sad, but how effectively those emotions are drawn out of players. From this perspective, The Last of Us Part 2 did have some shining moments. Just when I thought the story had course-corrected, issues resurfaced. New characters are introduced and make irrational decisions that put themselves and those they care about in mortal danger. They are told that the consequences from these actions aren't their fault, while in reality they are basically entirely their fault. I couldn't help but think the story may have actually been better if portions of it had been removed. It doesn't get any better from there, with the final confrontation between Abby and Ellie ending in utter lunacy. While playing, I was left verbally exclaiming my confusion at the television. Further perplexing is the game continues beyond what feels like the unquestionable end, in what I can only describe as a sort of epilogue. The driving action and outcomes of the epilogue are as flawed as ever, and again beg the question, would the story have been better without it? To summarize, while I think the game took a bold approach, continued its history of strong voice acting, and had some quality reveals with powerful scenes, the baffling driving actions, hard to connect with characters, and perplexing final scenes left the story discernibly worse than the original. This may explain why the game has been met with so many mixed reviews from fans.